Hi, I'm Mike, and today we're going to be working on our UFO project together. The first thing that we're going to do with this project is open this model here at our resealable flap. We want to make sure we keep this flap intact, that way our students can put their pieces back in here. This is a model that's going to take us 2 sessions to build, and then we'll fly in a 3rd session. So we can pull our parts out. The main part that we need here for our first session is this fuselage piece, our 2 circular wing parts, our rudder, our masking tape, and out of this bag of parts right here, the only thing we need today is just this small triangular tower piece. Everything else we can set off to the side for now, and we'll work on that in a little bit. The first thing that we're going to do to prep our wings for building today is we're going to take masking tape and we're going to line the straight edge of our wing right here and right here with the masking tape. I'm just going to take my masking tape and split it over this wing halfway like this, fold it over the edge, and then if I've got these little creases at the end, just pinch those shut. And I'm going to repeat this on all 4 edges of my main wings. And now that these are done, we can actually glue the dihedral on our wing. To do that, we want to make sure that we have a plastic surface on our cutting board, like our bag or one of the folders that we keep directions in. And we're going to glue a dihedral on the wing at 100 millimeters, which means that one of our wings will be laying flat on the surface like this, and one of them we're going to hold the edge up and measure with our metric ruler here up at 100 millimeters off the table. So I'm going to find that 100 millimeters, and then to set my wing, what I will do is, holding this wing in place, I'm going to take my super glue, and your students can hold their wings at 100 millimeters for you. I'm going to use my super glue and hold it here so you can see it, and I'm going to place a heavy dot of glue in 2 spots at each joint and spray that on the top edge and blow on it while I'm holding it, and I'm going to give that just a few extra seconds, maybe 3 to 5 seconds, for those 2 dots to set. And you'll see now that that's actually going to hold my dihedral. And then I can glue my second side. I'm going to use the same technique, 2 dots. Now whenever we're putting a little extra glue like this, we do want to make sure that the students don't pick the wing up and move it, because the heavier the dot of glue, the more likely that there's going to be a soft spot that hasn't dried that the students may touch. And they're going to want to set this aside just to let it dry. And now we're going to work on our rudder a little bit. You'll notice that the rudder has 2 straight edges and then a curved edge. We're going to put tape on the bottom straight edge, as if this was the bottom and this was the tail of the aircraft, and this curve is going to face forward toward the front of the aircraft. Using the same technique, I'm going to align that tape so that about half of it is stuck and left like this. We're going to fold it over. Now my rudder can be glued to either side of this, and what we want to do with the rudder, I'm going to peel this off the plastic now, is we want to make sure that our rudder stands vertically in relationship to the dihedral of the wings. So we don't want it to be crooked off to the side, either side like this. We want it to stand vertically. Once again, we want to make sure that we're always gluing on top of plastic. And I'm going to take my super glue, and again, I'm just going to use a big dot of glue like that to set it in place. I'll use my spray. And while my spray is drying, I'm not going to blow on it this time. I'm going to go ahead and line it up and keep my eyes on it to make sure that it's splitting the difference on the wings, standing nice and straight up and down. Once that's set, we've finished building the wings of our UFO, and we're going to start working now on the fuselage. We're going to lay this on the side, keep it on the plastic. Now, for the fuselage of our UFO, we need two pieces. We've got this tower section right here, which is a small balsa wood piece that's tall at one end, very narrow at the other, and then this long piece here. What we're going to do is place the tower 75 millimeters from the leading edge of our fuselage. To get that, I'm just going to lay my fuselage on my cutting board, and I'm going to mark right between 70 and 80 at the 7.5 mark. This is something that you can teach your students to do. With this lined up, I'll make a mark at 75. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a piece of Scotch tape to help myself set the tower. Now your students can secure this with white glue, and this is why we're going to use the Scotch tape. What we'll do is we're going to line our tower up, and very importantly, this is the nose of the aircraft. We've got 75 millimeters from here to here, and the tall part of our tower is facing forward. This is very important because this creates the leading edge of the wing. Without this, the plane will not fly well. I'm going to take a piece of tape, lay it over the tower, holding it to the fuselage just like this, and you'll notice now that with my tape and my tower I can fold the tower over, but it'll stay lined up in one place. Now I can take my white glue, if I was a student or as an instructor, I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of super glue here, line that seam with glue, and then with the white glue the students will be able to set this and the tape will hold it in place while it dries. Once we've got this done, the only other thing we're going to do in session 1 is prepare our landing gear. I'm going to leave this aside to dry. Our landing gear, we're going to need our propeller, and out of our bag of parts here we're going to need this metal clip as well as the two black plastic wheels, and we also have two small black plastic pieces that are connected that look like little tiny bullets. These we can separate with a scissor or with our hobby knife. I'm going to separate it with the hobby knife. To prepare the landing gear, what we're going to do is, first step, we're going to take our metal clip, and in the notch where the propeller will mount to our fuselage, there's also a slot about halfway up our propeller that this tip of the metal will slide into, just like this. So if we're looking at that notch from the back, it's right about halfway up. It's a slot. Now we're going to take and anchor our wheels. The wheels will just slide over these little extensions on our metal part. Now there's two methods that we can use to secure our wheel in place. One is these small plastic bullets, which can sometimes be difficult to work with. But if you happen to lose one of these, or you're struggling to get it in place, another method that we can use is simply to take the wheel. We're going to take our super glue. We're just going to put a little drop of it right there on the tip of that metal. Spray it with the glue, or with the setter. Blow on it. Spin our wheel a little bit. And now, just that little bit of super glue will hold my wheel in place. This finishes the landing gear for our model and ends our first session. Thanks for building. In our first session for our UFO build, we completed our wing structure and our landing gear, and we glued the tower onto our fuselage. In session 2, we're going to put all this together to get ourselves ready for flight. First thing, I'm just going to take the tape that was holding my tower in place off, and we're going to glue our wings onto this fuselage. But very important, before we glue the wings on, we need to attach the hook that's going to hold our rubber band down the line in place. What we want to do with that is mark our fuselage from the tail at 100 millimeters forward, just like we did with the tower earlier. We're going to mark that at 100 millimeters, and we're going to attach the hook to this. It's going to slide over the fuselage. Now it's very important, the tower is here. We need to make sure that the hook is facing down and the tower is facing up like this. That way our rubber band will attach properly later on. Once we've got this on and we've glued our wings, we can no longer pull this off. So it's very important to make sure that this is facing the right way for all of your students before you proceed with the next step. Once we've got this in at 100 millimeters, we're going to go ahead and attach our wing structure. Now the first step for gluing our wings, we're going to apply some super glue to our tower to get the leading edge ready. So we're going to run a strip of glue right here. And this is just to get us started in this process. We're going to reinforce everything. Now what's very important here is we want to make sure that our wings are balanced over our fuselage. I'm going to take the leading edge and I'm going to use the line of my wings to line up with my fuselage. And while I'm holding this in place with the tail lined up, I'm going to balance my dihedral left and right. And I'm just going to use my spray right here to set my wing. Blow on it a little bit. Make sure that it's right. I'll have a couple of seconds to make adjustments there. Now I'm going to reinforce this joint by taking super glue and running it here and here on both sides. Using my spray to set it and secure it. Now I'm going to repeat this process on the tail of the aircraft, and this is going to keep our wing structure attached to the fuselage. And then just here I'm going to give us a little more reinforcement on the front of the ring where we had those two dots before. And that completes the fuselage portion. Now we're going to attach our landing gear to the nose of the aircraft, obviously with the wheels facing down. I'm going to slide this over the nose, and that's attached to our landing gear. And now all we need to do to prep for flight is attach the rubber band and balance the aircraft out. Take our rubber band, which is just one long strip of rubber band. And to prep the rubber band, we're going to hold the two tails of the rubber band together like this and tie them as one piece, just like we would tie the balloon, the tail of a balloon. I like to use two fingers. I wrap it around the two fingers like this. Take the two tails, go through the back and out the front to make the same type of knot that we use for our shoelaces. I'm going to pull that secure. And now I'm going to attach this to my aircraft. And I'm going to start by putting the knot around this hook just like that, and I'm going to make sure during this whole process that I keep the knot right by the hook so that it doesn't interfere with how my rubber band spins later on. And I'm going to go up between the wheels of the landing gear, hook this like that, and then come right back to the tail, hook my rubber band around the red hook one more time. So I've gone from back with the knot here to front, and then back to the back. And now my whole rubber band is strung. As always, we're going to wind our propeller in a clockwise direction. And as we're winding clockwise, I'm going to hold this from underneath so we can see the rubber band in this case. As we're winding clockwise, we're going to keep winding until we start getting the double knots on our rubber band, like right here. And we're going to get those double knots on at least 50% of the rubber band just to give us a good bit of power for a test flight. And once we're prepared for a test flight, we're going to watch the way that our UFO behaves in the air. What we're looking for is one of three things. Our plane may stall the first time we launch it, and we're going to throw it straight out like this, just as if it was on a rail. And if it leaves our hand and the nose pitches up like that and the plane loses airspeed and then starts to dive toward the ground, that's called a stall. What we're going to do to fix a stall is take a little bit of this balancing clay that we have here and just attach it right to the nose of the aircraft in a way that won't interfere with our rubber band, and that's going to help keep the nose down to prevent a stall. Another thing that might happen with our aircraft is it may dive. So if we throw the aircraft nice and level and the nose starts to pitch down, as soon as it leaves our hand and it hits the ground soon without achieving a good long flight, what we're going to do is add a little bit of weight to the tail to bring the tail down and keep our plane flying nice and straight. After we've done a couple of test flights and we get that balanced out, what we're going to do for each flight is we're going to hold our UFO right here under the middle of the leading edge of the wing. I'm going to hold the propeller and we're going to throw it nice and straight, releasing the propeller as we release the aircraft so that it can take off and fly. Just like this. Thanks for building the UFO. Enjoy your flight day.